Okay, the January 30th meeting of the Compliance and Amendments Committee is now in session. First item, please.
On the call of the roll, Member Highland.
Here.
Highland present. Member Moss.
Present.
Moss present. Chair Kanata.
Present.
Kanata present. We have a quorum. There are no agenda changes that I know of at this time. Next on the agenda is item number 3, public comment. Members of the public may address the committee on matters.
Item 2, Victor.
Oh, sorry. Item 2, approval of the November 13th Compliance and Amendments Committee meeting minutes.
Anybody have any issues?
No. No. I'll move to accept them.
Second.
Public comment.
Any public comment on the move to approve minutes? Seeing no public comment, can we take it by acclamation?
The minutes are approved without objection.
Okay.
Next on the agenda is item number 3, public comment. Members of the public may address the committee on matters that are within the committee's jurisdiction, but not on today's agenda.
Is there any public comment? Seeing no public comment, let's get to the next one.
Next on the agenda, item number 4. File number 17132, complaint filed by Anonymous against Eric Pulowski and the Recreation and Park Department for allegedly violating Administrative Code, Section 67.25, by failing to respond to an immediate disclosure request in a timely and or complete manner.
Okay, is the complainant here? Anonymous? Don't see a complainant. How about the respondent, Mr. Pulowski?
Good afternoon, members of the
You have 5
task force.
minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Eric Pulowski.
Do jurisdiction first?
It's your choice if you want to do that.
Let's wait for this.
Okay.
We're going by a format that the complaints committee put out there, that when we're hearing new complaints, so everybody does it the same way?
Good to know. Okay.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Sorry, go ahead.
Good afternoon, Eric Pulowski, San Francisco Recreation and Parks. This matter concerns a request for what's termed a standing public records request. We responded completely, fully, in a timely manner to the complainant's original request. However, the complainant maintained that they were entitled to records that may be produced subsequent to the original request and our response to that request. There's nothing, put simply, there's nothing in the Brown Act, the Public Records Act. There's nothing in the Sunshine Ordinance that entitles a requester to documents that may or will be created at a future date. The City Attorney's Good Government Guide reaffirms that on page 86, stating explicitly there are no standing records requests. In short, if the requester wishes to receive additional documents responsive, all they have to do is make a new request. We'd be happy to comply.
That's it? Okay. Any questions?
Sure. I have a question for you. So when the requester sent his original request, and that was way back in October, and then subsequently on November 18th is when he emailed you about that standing request. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then he said, we also request any subsequent information. Did you provide information that was created between October 23rd and November 18th?
Tell me again, are you reading the timeline that I provided in the background?
Which page is the timeline on?
It's page 1 of my response, and it continues on to page 2. So tell me exactly.
So his first request was on the 23rd.
Correct.
And then on November 18th, he asked for subsequent information. And did you, so according to the request that we're looking at in the city attorney memo, on November 18th, when he sent you that request, and you interpreted it as him asking as a standing request that you would just keep giving him information over and over again.
Right.
However, I am wondering if, because he says, we also request that any subsequent information related to this issue be sent, he says, on an incremental and rolling basis, but by the time November 18th happened, you may have created records between the first request and what could be considered a second request on November 18th. So what I'm wondering is whether you provided that information, that period of records.
I did not provide additional information when they followed up asking for records to be produced on an incremental or rolling basis.
Okay, but so you had responded that you don't have to do a standing request.
Correct.
But you did not provide information that had been made between the first request and what I am, looks to me like a second request on November 18th.
Correct. There was nothing in that dialogue that indicated to me that they were making a new request. They simply made a request for all subsequent records be produced in the future.
So what do you interpret when he had said on November 18th, we also request that any subsequent information released should be sent to an incremental and rolling basis?
My interpretation of that was that they did not need to submit a new request, that any subsequent information as it became produced, presumably into perpetuity, their interpretation indicated that they believed that they were entitled to that on a rolling basis.
Right, but you're specifically talking about moving forward from the period. If the requester had asked for subsequent information since the first request he filed,
which they did at a later date. They made a formal request afterwards.
Right, but so you didn't. When he said, "I request the subsequent records," you did not provide those subsequent records.
Well, the full text, to be fair, said we are requesting these records on a incremental and rolling basis.
That may be so, but I mean, under an IDR, I mean, if he was considering this an IDR, that would be fine. As far as when you release the records, not. I mean, I understand what you're saying on that.
Okay.
That moving future records can't be requested, but he also was covering the records backwards in the past.
That was not clear to me from the communication I received from the requester.
Through the chair, but you did mention that a subsequent request was made from that date forward to the present?
Correct.
Okay, and did you satisfy that?
Yes.
Okay.
So, just so I'm clear, so in your opinion, the only issue here is that the complainant put in a request to get future public records as they are produced, and that's their viewpoint. That's what they put in, and the department said there's no provision for that. That's not a valid request.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so let's move to see if we have jurisdiction and if the records are public.
Somebody walked in. Do you want to check whether the respondent is?
Is the complainant here for this issue?
This is item 4.
Anonymous complainant? Nope. Still seeing none.
Okay, so I move to find jurisdiction.
A second.
Okay, any public comment on jurisdiction?
So going back to Member Moss's line of reasoning, which I think is a valid one, unfortunately, we are looking at adequately respond to complainant's November 18th IDR, then the question becomes, does following conversation become part of that request and/or discussion?
And to me, that's an issue for the full task force. I think our aim here is to find out if we have all the information necessary to send it up to the full task force. And to me, it sounds like we do, especially there's nobody to rebut the respondents.
Well, I think we can make a determination of whether that merits going up, because if it doesn't, I think Mr. Podolsky's argument is reasonable that there's no standing request. You have to make subsequent requests. But I think there is something here.
Well, so could you take a look at page 32 in the packet? So the original request was October 25th, I believe.
Okay.
And then on page 23 on November 18th, this is what reads to me as a second request, and maybe there are portions of this request that are unreasonable, particularly the future moving stuff. But when it says, "Please send us any information given to the request that was not included in the original disclosures provided," that to me is very clearly. It may not be an IDR at this point, but it is very clearly to me this is somebody asking for the information that was created on October 25th through November 18th. And then the requester wants everything that's created after that to be provided on a rolling basis, which is unreasonable, as the Good Government Guide says. I'm not concluding that it's unreasonable. I'm just saying that the Good Government Guide says it is. But it seems to me that it's important to note that there are two requests as part of this this complaint, and there's the 25th, and then there's the 18th.
But not having the complaint in here, I'm not positive that that's what his complaint is about. So, I think this information should go up, and I think we have all the information that the full task force needs. The complaint committee doesn't send up referrals of whether there should be or shouldn't be a complaint. They seem to want us to gather the information and determine that all the information is available so that the full task force can make a determination.
I think we still have the option if we want to make a recommendation or not. We can just recommend as is, that we have jurisdiction for consideration, or if we feel strongly enough, we can at least point the task force in the direction.
I mean, I see what you're saying. I think that as I see the complaint described in the Google form, it may be that the requester doesn't fully understand the entire sunshine ordinance process, which he doesn't have to. Or they don't have to, because they're not expected to be lawyers or experts. They're expected to be members of the public who want information. But it does say, through an IDR, we requested that any subsequent information related to this issue be on an incremental basis. And so there was a second question about filed. There are 3 periods of information we're looking that this thing is covering. One, did they provide everything that had been created up until the date that the request was filed? Then what was created between the first request and when he followed up. And that stuff, I think, should be covered, because he sends a second request saying, I would like all subsequent information. And then the third part is anything future. And that is the stuff that may not be covered. But again, for the task force to decide. But I just wanted to note that for the record.
And according to the respondent, the complainant got that information after they talked, and he put in another request for that specific period of time.
But the question would still determine for the full task force as to whether therein lies anything of note. Yeah. So I think it might be useful if we at least send this up to the full task force with what Member Moss said, the 3 timelines, so we can get right to the crux of the matter. Victor, is that something you could incorporate?
It will be concluded as part of the minutes.
Okay.
And the minutes are provided to the full task force.
Okay. And when we summarize it?
We can summarize it like that. Okay, great.
Good with that.
So we need a motion to just send it up.
Are we on rebuttals, or? Wait.
Well,
there are no rebuttals required.
Would you like a 3-minute rebuttal? Okay, come on up.
So I was just off memory, trying to remember the process.
I'd like to indicate for the record, at no point during our discussion about my discussion with the complainant about the issue of the standing records request did they simply correct me or indicate that my interpretation was correct. Really, all they have to do is submit a public records request. I think if you look at the way this request is written, it's reasonable to assume that they have a fairly robust knowledge of the Sunshine Ordinance, and so I disagree with the notion that there's any intent on the part of the department to withhold records. There was none. We're happy to provide any records, but we will do so in response to a valid request, not on a rolling basis.
Thank you. Okay, so we need a motion to...
I'll move that this is ripe for sending to the full task force for a full hearing.
I suggest that the motion is to find that the task force has jurisdiction and to forward this matter to the full task force for hearing.
So amended.
Second.
Any public comment on the motion? Seeing no public comment, can we call roll on this?
On that motion, Member Highland.
Aye.
Highland, aye. Member Moss.
Aye.
Moss, aye. Chair Kanata.
Aye.
Kanata, aye. The motion passes. And I do want to remind the task force that in our procedures, we do have, if the complainant does not appear and does not provide advance notice, our standard policy is to table the matter. But since this is an anonymous complaint, I think it is correct to send it forward. But I just wanted to make that note.
Okay, next item, please.
Next on the agenda, Item number 5, file number 17058, hearing on the status of the order of determination. Complaint filed by Denta Tedeschi against John Haley and Tom Nolan for violation of Administrative Code, Section 67.21E. On November 1st, 2017, the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force referred this matter to the Compliance and Amendments Committee to confirm whether or not the SFMTA Accessibility Division provided a separate confirmation and or response to the public records request. According to my records, the SFMTA did provide that response or confirmation on November the 3rd.
Okay, Mr. Tedeschi, come on up, please. And I guess so. The only thing we're trying to establish here is if you got your confirmation from the ADA coordinator about the information that you were provided by the department.
No, they never contacted me.
Okay. Is SFMTA here? Yes. Come on up, please.
I'd like to point out page 43.
So, in looking at our documentation, it seems like something was sent in to us. Was it provided to the respondent?
I don't recall if I copied the respondent or not, but I understood that we were to provide it to the task force, so that's who I provided it to, the confirmation.
If you look on page 43, it is addressed to both the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force and Mr. Tedeschi.
Okay, hang on, let me get there.
Here.
So it's CC to Mr. Tedeschi.
Okay, so come on up, sir. Yeah, why don't you take this, show that?
Sorry, I'm just... It basically says the same thing, that there was no additional responsive documents, which is what I'm alleging.
But we can't go into their records to provide the documents. And what was decided at the full task force meeting was that you get a letter from the ADA coordinator explaining that. That's all that we can do. I mean, we can't go search their files to see if there's responsive documents. If they say there's no responsive documents, we normally accept that.
Well, I was still, under the impression that because you found against them that you're still going to, correct?
Oh, there has been an order of determination that they violated the Sunshine Ordinance, yes.
Right, due to fraud, basically saying that there's a rule that in effect comes in middle of 2016 and says that I have to have my service animal on my lap when there wasn't. And I have emails supporting that. Emails from the,
But the Sunshine Ordinance and the task force has no jurisdiction over their policies. We can only find violation for withholding public records or how participation in public meetings go.
Yeah. I just wanted it to be known that this is the fact.
Yep.
And this is what they're doing. Yeah, that was my aim.
Okay.
And I think I succeeded.
Just to get it on the record, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, just reading the last order of determination here, to find that John Haley and Tom Nolan violated Administrative Code 6721E by failing to respond to public records requests in a timely and complete manner. In addition, SOTF requested that the ADA coordinator respond separately to the public records request, and that has happened as well. So it looks like the order of determination was satisfied by that second paragraph, which is what we just saw on page 43. And their response being, here's a copy, and again, we have nothing more responsive. So, unfortunately, as Chairman
can you refer this matter to the Ethics Commission or no?
we really can't. And again, I think that's something we discussed at the full task force. It needs to rise to a certain level, and it's just, we don't see that. I strongly recommend that this is really an ADA issue, and that's where you should, get your help with maybe some pro bono ADA work, or lawyers that can help you with that, because ADA is pretty serious, and it's much more recognized now than it was 3-4 years ago. I would go down that path. I think this body has probably helped you as much as we can, even though we'd like to help you more. We're bound by a certain charter as to what we can and can't do.
Okay.
And we've kind of reached the end of that road, I think.
I do have newer additional things to file against the Mayor's Office on Disability, and also against the building management for the denial of meeting that occurred.
Just keep in mind that it has to be information-based. We can help you get the information.
Yeah.
But if it's violation of ADA rights, that's a different path.
Okay.
So
I'd just like to caution, if this is on the same issue, that we probably would not accept it as it would be a duplicate filing.
Yeah. If you don't have new evidence, then we would.
But it was under your recommendation, actually, because you said that due to you not finding for the
I believe
against the MOD that I need to get the right person.
I think we directed you to try and find the right person, then we could potentially help you.
Yeah.
I thought we had that. Did we not have that hearing?
No.
no additional hearing was. The complaint was against the mayor's office.
Right.
And if you'd like to file a complaint against the building management, we would need to get that complaint.
Okay. I'll get that again. Okay.
Yeah. So that would be a.
And then also, I found another provision under the Sunshine against the investigator who came in, because under Sunshine, I have if I'm a complainant against the city on a certain matter, there are certain almost like whistleblower protections that they need to respect my privacy.
Okay.
We don't handle whistleblower.
Right.
I think I know what you're
It's
referring
under
to.
the Sunshine.
Yeah, we've handled some cases where, like especially with the police department, because they are in the record, do they or do they not have access to certain, case reports or that kind of stuff. That's something, if you talk to our clerk, you might be able to guide you better on how to package that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great, thank you. So do we,
there
Victor,
a motion-
do we have to have a motion to close this issue?
A motion to find that the department has complied with the order of determination and to table the matter.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, any public comment on the motion? Seeing none?
On that motion, Member Moss.
Aye.
Moss, aye. Member Highland.
Aye.
Highland, aye. Chair Kanada.
Aye.
Kanada, aye. The motion passes.
Okay. Next item.
Next on the agenda, item 6, file number 17084, hearing on the status of order determination complaint filed by Ray Hartz against Director John Updike and the Department of Real Estate for violating Administrative Code Section 67.21 and 67.25. On November 1st, 2017, the task force referred the matter to the committee to confirm that the Department of Real Estate provides a copy of the lease and rent rolls related to the Friends of Public Library. On November 5th, 2017, the Department of Real Estate provided the December 11, 2002 lease and a summary of payments made versus payments owed since exemption.
Okay. Not seeing Mr. Hartz here. Our notes show that the documentation was provided. And Victor, we haven't heard from Mr. Hartz about not making it?
Not regarding attendance. He did provide a reply to
The next one.
original email regarding the difference regarding the document itself, but I don't believe we're here to review the actual
Right,
document.
and he's not contesting that this was received in that email that I read.
As far as I know.
Okay. Is the respondent here, just if they want to say anything? The
The
Department of
respondent
Real
is
Estate?
here, but they do not have any response at this
Okay.
time.
I don't think we have like two options. We close it out or we table it. And I have the feeling that if Mr. Hartz had an objection, he would have raised it by now. And so I'm comfortable moving that we. What is the preferred thing here, Victor? Is
To find that department has complied with the order of determination and to table the matter.
So I move to find that the department has complied with the order and move to table the matter.
Second.
Any public comment on the motion? Seeing no public comment, let's vote.
On the motion, Member Highland.
Aye.
Highland, aye. Member Moss.
Aye.
Moss, aye. Chair Kanata.
Aye.
Kanata, aye. The motion passes. Next on the agenda, item number 7, file number 17085. Hearing on the status of order of termination complaint filed by Ray Hartz against City Librarian Luis Herrera and the Public Library. On November 1st, 2017, the task force referred the matter to the committee to confirm that City Librarian Luis Herrera personally verifies in writing that all records related to the lease with the Friends of the Public Library have been provided and that the Public Library does not have any other documents related to the public records request. On November 6th, the Public Library provided the requested confirmation letter.
Okay, same issue here. Mr. Hartz isn't here. I see there's somebody representing the library. Do you want to say anything on this matter? Okay. So I think it's the same issue as before, that if there was a problem, Mr. Hartz would be here or would have raised one.
I mean, as I understand it, our request was that, Mr. Herrera send a letter, and I see a letter here signed by Mr. Herrera, so I'm not sure that there's anything more we can ask.
I agree.
So I will move that to close the order of determination and to table the matter. Or that let me clarify. To move that the order of determination has been complied with and to table the matter.
Just a point of caution, table the matter is probably not the language we want to use, is it?
Our definition of table is closing.
Okay, so we can use that. Okay.
I was just parroting Victor, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second.
Any public comment on the motion? Seeing none. Victor?
On that motion, Member Highland.
Aye.
Highland, aye. Member Moss.
Aye.
Moss, aye. Chair Kanata.
Aye.
Kanata, aye. The motion passes. The matter is tabled.
Victor, sorry, just to go back to the previous item, did we have a letter in the packet?
There was email from the Department of Real Estate, and I have attached the copy of the lease along with the rent roll information as requested.
I see it there. Okay,
as
great.
part of the packet.
Great, thank you. It's moving so quickly, I missed that. All right.
Next on the agenda, item number 8, file number 17096, complaint filed by Kevin Williams against Kate Patterson and the Arts Commission for allegedly violating Administrative Code Section 67.25 by failing to respond to a immediate disclosure request in a timely and or complete manner. On December 19, 2017, the task force referred the matter to committee to review documents and possessions of the Arts Commission and provide to the petitioner in response to Mr. Williams's public records request.
Okay, so, and Mr. Williams, I read in reading the packet, it seems like the two parties are working together. What's the status here?
Well, the status is it's the 5th month, and we met after the last meeting that you were president, Mr. Kanata.
Yes, sir.
Right? And I had an expectation of receiving some movement, and I guess I'll probably hold my comments and allow them to come up because I haven't heard anything from them or received any additional documents as it relates to the 26 items in the October 2nd rebuttal.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just to recap, I believe that the full task force intention was for the committee to review each of the requests made by the complainant and to compare and have a back and forth on whether or not the Arts Commission has provided documents or why they don't have any documents. I believe on page 169 is the beginning of the list.
Right.
And there are a series of 26 separate requests. And I believe the intention was for us to go through each of those requests and see what response was made and whether it was a valid response or not.
Okay, and just so I'm straight on this, some of these responses were some of these responses provided before the November 17th meeting. Was that the November 17th?
I believe a lot of the responses were provided before the full task force
Okay.
meeting.
Okay. Ms. Patterson, I have a question, I guess. When your department, you and whomever else met with Mr. Williams after the meeting, Mr. Williams is saying he hasn't gotten any other responses to his questions. What's going on, I guess?
Yeah. So again, I think part of the issue is that there's some confusion about what kinds of records the Arts Commission has, and the kinds of records that we don't have. And we have turned over everything responsive that the Arts Commission has in our possession, and it doesn't necessarily satisfy everything that Mr. Williams wants. And so I'm happy that you're inviting this opportunity for us to go through line item by line item so we could help clarify to which department or entity he needs to make a further request if he's not satisfied with the records which have already been provided.
Okay, are we ready to go?
Yeah.
I was going to say, isn't this something that could or should have been done by email back and forth between the two of you already?
Well, I've already provided detailed responses to his requests.
Is that what we're
I
reading
have
here? Is this the? So I see that the 26. There's an item, then there's a rebuttal. I'm assuming the rebuttal is Mr. Williams's comment on where things stand, right? Is I'm reading that correctly? Okay. So, and have you seen that list?
Yeah, and I responded on December 12th to
Okay.
the rebuttal from.
Hold on one second. Let's see if we can find that. Where is that, Victor, in our packet?
It's dated December 12th.
I'm just trying to find the reference in our package here. Or is it in our package? Because what would be really nice is just to, go into his document and just say, you can find this here, 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 gave you what we have, here, 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 and that way we would cover all 26. That's what you're looking for, right?
Well, our initial letter to his initial request is enumerated in that fashion.
It is, okay.
And then our response to the rebuttal also included additional records, an account of additional records which were sent after the first meeting.
Okay, I think I'm seeing the response here. It looks like page 182, Victor.
Yeah, that's a response sent on September 28th.
That's the original one where you're going item by item, 14, 14A, 14B, okay.
Which I think is worth going over.
Okay.
So why don't we start with item 1?
Well, what I'm trying to do is, instead of going through all 26, if a lot of the answers are in here, let's get to the 5 that remain outstanding and just knock those out is what I was hoping to achieve. But I'm kind of catching up on how much has been answered and how much direction the department has given.
Mr. Williams, do you feel that any of these 26 items have been answered successfully?
No, they're not responsive. Excuse me, if I can get to this.
Yeah.
They're not responsive.
Okay, so
Mr. Kanata, you were here.
I believe we all were at that last
Yeah, we were
meeting.
all
You
here.
were,
I
Mr.
believe you
Highland.
were not.
Okay.
But it was clear what Chairman Wolf directed. He said we should get together and go over this. This is not getting together. This is a reference back to something that happened at some other point, and it's non-responsive. We have not received the responsive documents that are laid out in here.
Even though you did get together one time?
After that last meeting, I put in writing in this packet that I would be happy, even though I didn't agree with the decision to even take up your time as it is now, that we get together and resolve this by email, telephone. I have not got one telephone call. I have not received one email since that meeting. That is the basis for why we are here again. And notwithstanding the delay that we complained about the IDR, this has been 5 months. Mm-hmm. There absolutely is no excuse for a 5-month delay and for this task force to be spending its time on something that should have been resolved between the parties as directed by your chair.
Okay,
I
so
think I should be allowed to respond to that.
you may.
We have no further documents to provide, and my understanding was that it was going to be at this meeting where we would go line item by line item and clarify the items, the jurisdiction over records that we don't have. I don't know what to say. We've given him everything that we have in our records. So I don't have any further records to provide. No one's withholding information. So I just think I'd prefer us to all be on the same page and for us to go through all 26 items.
Member Moss.
So I am just trying to figure out what document we should work from. That's like kind of my main concern, whether we should go from the original request, whether we should go from Mr. Williams' document that has all of his rebuttals, or if I can figure out where it is in the packet. I'm assuming there's yet another document that has your rebuttals to his rebuttals?
I sent a letter on December 12th addressing some of the accusations in Mr. Williams' letter. But if I may make a recommendation, I think it'd be great if we could just start with his initial request and our initial response, and then I will address the records that we did not provide in that initial response, which were then fulfilled later. And I think if we go over every line item by line item, we can clarify whether those documents are Arts Commission documents, or if he's seeking documents from the Department of Public Works or the SFMTA, or if they're documents that the nonprofit, our grantee, has, for which we do not have certain agency.
Members, since Mr. Williams says that none of the 26 items have been fully satisfied, I think we go through them all.
I'm fine to go through all. We seem to be ahead of schedule today anyway, so, And
you don't want to watch Star Trek.
the State of the Union?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
Okay. So item one.
Could we hold on a second? So I'm still not seeing this December
May I
document.
suggest that we just use Mr. Williams' letter starting on page 169?
Well, I'd like to see Ms. Patterson's December 12th letter. I'm doing a search
we have
on
that,
it.
Victor?
Yeah, I'm not finding it.
I am.
Yeah, you did get the letter. It's August 30th, 2017 is the date. I have the initial packet.
Page 325.
Yeah.
325.
Hold on. I thought you said it was December 12th.
That was the second letter I sent that
do we have
addressed.
that one?
I have that one as well.
But we don't have that one.
We don't have that one.
Okay. Can you put that on the viewer for us?
Sure.
Yeah.
Victor, can you turn it on?
Victor, do you need to switch something on the monitor?
Sorry.
Somebody certainly downloaded some Mr. Scruff. Chair Canano? So I am happy to take Victor's recommendation and start on the document on page 169 and work down from there, only because as we're taking notes on this, it would be easier to be able to reference Mr. Williams' remarks without having to jump between two different documents. And from what I can tell, the document that has all his rebuttal remarks has the original text in there. I think that seems to be the case.
Ms. Patterson, could you show the sent to, et cetera, stuff at the top of this? Is this
Just a copy of the letter that I sent. I sent it as an email attachment.
I understand. Okay.
So, I can pull up in my email that I sent it.
No, it's not that. It just, I guess it's not going to do us any good because we haven't seen it and the complainant hasn't seen this yet. So I guess this will be the basis of a lot of your answers as we go through this.
I think the lion's share of my answers are in my initial letter, which is August 30th, which answered most of the questions.
Okay.
And I have my colleague Barbara Mumby here because Barbara oversees our cultural centers and has a better mastery of the documents and records that we hold with regard to those entities.
Okay.
Okay, so let's just, we're on page 169 in our package. Let's just go over these item by item. The first item is provide for confirmed copy of any and all contracts, et cetera, pertaining to the $5.6 million historic renovation of the Bayview Opera House, Ruth Williams Memorial Theater, et cetera. And the rebuttal is only $2.5 million of that $5.6 was accounted for. How does Mr. Williams account for the rest of the money?
Okay, well, as I explained at the last meeting, with this project, with this construction project, the Arts Commission actually signs over the building to another department which manages all of the contracts, all aspects of construction for that project. So there are records, we did provide him with a number of records. If you look at my letter, these are the records that we had in our possession. And at the time, I had directed him to seek additional records from the SFMTA and the Department of Public Works. So, I gave him what we have, and, he didn't ask, we don't have a budget that has the line item for every aspect of that $5.6 million budget. That document, it doesn't exist. The Arts Commission doesn't have it. So I gave him everything we had that was responsive to contracts, grants, loan bids, any purchase order. I gave him what we had, but he also had additional records from the SFMTA and the Department of Public Works, records that I'm not required to review, nor am I required to check to see if, the budgets line up. I mean, we just don't have those records. So
for this overall project, there's not one entity that is responsible for it?
No. There is, because the building is signed over to other departments who manage all the contracting aspects. And there are multiple city departments that had control over the site throughout the project, not the Arts Commission. And that's just how the city works. No, we do not have a comprehensive budget that has line items that amount to that dollar amount.
Okay. Mr. Williams, a question.
You can just stay with the other mic, but you just need to give me a moment to switch back and forth.
Okay.
So my question is, did you request from other departments such as MTA and DPW about this project and the budget?
No, I didn't, because I was assured by the Arts Commission that they would secure those records. And out the gate, from the onset, they said they would do it the following day. I received an email that said Ms. Patterson had consulted internally and decided that I should go into the respective departments, which I declined to do, because she made that promise in writing that she would do it.
I made no such promise. I made no such promise.
I'll be happy to locate the email.
We cannot go back and forth like this, because I have to switch back and forth. One person, and then Chair will call on the other person, and then I'll switch the mic.
Okay. In any event, the Arts Commission waived jurisdiction to the Sunshine Commission, so it is a moot point because it is intended to create a red herring. I'm not interested in any documents other than those through the Arts Commission. It is a building, a city-owned building, owned and operated by the Arts Commission that my dear departed mother happened to save in 1966 when the city was going to demolish it. Further than that, I served Mayor Ed Lee, when he was director of the Human Rights Commission, as a contract compliance officer for nearly a decade. And I know city processes as well as anyone, for having worked 25 years as a senior compliance officer on some of the largest capital improvement projects in the city's history, including the master plan project at SFO, Moscone Center, and the courts. So what this young woman is saying is inaccurate. If she can't find the records as a city employee, I'm no longer when I'm retired since 2005, how does she, or how does anyone reasonably expect me to get them? And inasmuch as I'm not going to go back and forth over the same thing, I'll tell you why we don't have the records, and it's in the record. She was instructed by Mr. DeCaney, her boss, not to give those records to us and to create a pretext.
And we've already had that case. All we're trying to do here is get you the information you want that the Arts Commission has. The Sunshine Ordinance 6721 says that they have to provide help in getting records they don't have, but that they don't have to get them. They can help you determine where to go to get them. So,
Mr. Kaneda, there is a provision in the San Francisco Administrative Code in many places in the city charter in terms of these kinds of interactions that one must utilize a good faith effort. That last meeting where your chair said that we should get together was October 19th. She submits a letter allegedly in December, 2 months later. There was nothing in between to implement what the chair had ordered.
I was not at that meeting, so there was no. So we ordered order determination in October, where we.
There is no order of determination.
There is not.
No.
Okay.
It was directed that we informally, because the committee was reluctant to issue a order of noncompliance, but it elected to say that we should come together and resolve it. And I summarized that in writing, and it's in your packet, that we didn't agree with the vote because we felt that Mr. DeCaney, in particular, as it relates to his interference by contacting Ms. Okel, telling her that he did not believe that a nonprofit should disclose any documents. And I can refer you to that page. And it is prohibited under the ordinance for a department head, employee, in any form or fashion to discourage the disclosure, having been required as a department manager to take Sunshine Ordinance training. And Mr. DeCaney, obviously, and I'm going to make a request to find out if he did, take that training. And if he has failed to take the training, he's discouraging the presentation of documents, and it's clear from the record he has, that is a clear basis for misconduct. We raised that issue. And at that time, my October 2nd, whatever happened, I don't know, it was not before that prior task force, because we're not only asking for the documents, but we're asking for a finding of a department manager who are the bosses, who is the boss of these two young ladies that instructed them not to do this and to invoke a fake extension, which under the government code only includes exempt records. So they held up all of the records under that fake extension. That is what I have stated. They have failed to respond to those arguments made.
Through the chair, Mr. Williams, it's not uncommon to invoke extensions for voluminous requests. That's probably what that extension was invoked under, not necessarily having to go and redact anything. So they're probably within their rights to invoke the extension. However, we're still trying to get down to the bottom of what they owe you and what they don't.
But what you're missing, Mr. Highland, is this. It's the person they said it to. They are directing a nonprofit whom they claimed we don't have those records to do something at 7:30 in the morning. To what documents they should or should not disclose is if they're an independent nonprofit, then Mr. DeCaney, as the director, should not be telling a staff person of the Opera House. He should be communicating with the board of the Opera House. In this instance, what that infers is that while he's directing them on documents, he should be directing them to produce the rest of these documents the same way, or directing the Opera House. So you can't have it both ways and play a shell game with this.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was not at the full task force when this was heard, so I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball on this. But I don't know if my
Mr.
members
Chairman?
have...
I don't believe we're going to have an agreement on any of these items. My suggestion is just to go through them, note each side's position, and just forward that to the full task force. And just to note, we are not able to review behavior of city employees. That's not under the jurisdiction.
No, this is not regarding, and may I add, you are the secretary, Mr. Young.
Sir,
you are not a member of the task force.
You have to wait to be asked to talk.
I object to that on the record. He is not a member of the task force. He should not be, and he's not legal counsel. I must object.
We'll give you time to talk. He's allowed to give us his input as our clerk. Thank you.
Victor?
That concludes.
Yes, so there was no order of determination made, and the purpose here is to go through these items and then send it back to the full task force so an order of determination can be made. That's remember, Moss, is that?
I mean, that's how I understand it. I mean, I do think we're going to be here for a while, trying to go through it one by one. But I mean, the fact of the matter is that Mr. Williams may be alleging that the way the city is organized is poorly done or not, or he might be saying that the records haven't been organized the way they should be, but that's not really part of our jurisdiction. The issue is whether records that are in the possession of the Arts Commission were handed over in a timely fashion. Is that correct?
That and when records that are not in their possession, the Arts Commission should be helpful in obtaining them.
Right. Okay. So why don't we? I did just have one question. This is number one for Mr. Williams. Where does the $5.6 million figure come from?
It was the published amount for the historic renovation of the Bayview Opera House Ruth Williams Memorial Theater.
Where was that published? The 5.6. Where did you get that figure?
It's published in the building trades. Where the bidders look to obtain specific bid documents and specifications to bid. It's been publicized in community newspapers.
That it was $5.6 million.
And it was in the media.
Okay.
Before the grand opening.
The respondent. It's $5.6 million. Is that how you? Is that?
That was the figure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there's but at some point it originated with that $5.6 million. You're saying that figure ended up getting split up
over many years.
Got it.
For many different departments.
All right. Well, I'll just jump through this and we can try to see if this works. Okay. So, so what contracts, grants, loans, and bids and purchase orders would the Arts Commission have?
Well, they're all listed, the ones that we had. We gave him a San Francisco Redevelopment Agency grant agreement from August 24th, 2011, personal services contract for cultural capital and historic preservation consulting and advertising service, Mayor's Office on Disability, October 4th, 2011. January 21st, 2012, Deborah Friedan Service Agreement Contract. March 29th, 2012, Deborah Friedan Sole Source MCO HCAO. I mean, these are the kind of the file names. Mm-hmm. March 2012, DPW MOU. June 6, 2012, review of requests for approval of proposed personnel service contracts number. I'm going to skip the numbers.
It's okay. Let me ask you, where did you find these in your department?
In various folders. Just in our various project folders.
And there's no just big box of all Bayview Opera House materials that you guys keep organized? How do you organize the entire project?
Well, this was from the project folder. Okay. And I should say that the person who oversaw the project retired last June.
Okay.
So this was all amassed after her departure.
Okay. What about this trade publication issue?
Like I said, these are the documents we have. I didn't manage the project, so in terms of the nature of the documents, I can't really get into what purpose they served. But again, I had shared Mr. Williams' requests with the SFMTA and the Department of Public Works, who were partners on this project, and I know that he did receive a number of records from the Department of Public Works. The project manager on that side was Romel Taylor, and he provided those records to me, and I provided them to Mr. Williams, but I did not, they came after I sent this letter, and it's not my responsibility to go through those records. I mean, I wasn't involved. I'm not the project manager for that, so if he has questions about those, he has to get them from DPW. Those are their records.
Wait, are those records in your possession now?
They are insofar as that I've included them in a Dropbox folder for Mr. Williams, so he has them. I mean, I literally just forwarded him the emails that came to me, but I didn't like save them in a folder. Those are not our records. I just passed them along.
Okay, so Mr. Williams, of the things that you've got, I mean, is it your belief that they don't exist or they're being withheld?
I believe they're being withheld.
And what makes you think that?
Because her supervisor, Mr. DeCaney, instructed her and his other staff not to disclose them because they were nonprofit.
How do you know that?
Because it's in writing.
Okay,
Mr. Williams, I'm reading that letter, and he says that he doesn't think that because it's not a city agency, he's questioning whether it should be released, and then he forwards it to Kate Patterson to make that determination. I don't see him telling them to withhold. He's like, let's make sure what is, what we can submit and what we can't submit, because sunshine does fall for city agencies only, and that's correct. And let me just finish, please. And the second part of that letter is he invokes the extension because, yes, this is voluminous. So those two observations are correct and in keeping with what other city departments heads do. That's how I read that. So
I need to make a point.
I don't see that. Please don't interrupt me.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
I don't see that as as a collusion or as a conspiracy not to provide you with documents.
But I.
You
Mr.
could,
Chairman, I need you to recognize people because this.
Yeah. So I'm not looking for any. I'm just stating that for the fact. Okay, Mr. Chairman, back to you.
I agree.
Okay. So,
I need the chair to recognize the person so I know which mic to turn on.
okay. Mr. Williams.
Mr. Halen, I agree with you. But what I disagree with is that a department head is, in effect, directing the actions of a so-called independent nonprofit and directing the staff to do other things. That is not supposed to happen when a department head calls a nonprofit. That is supposed to be independent, which means Mr. DeCaney can ask for every one of these documents from Ms. Okel and receive them. This is a red herring. I've seen these kinds of machinations before. And all I'm saying is we shouldn't be having to go over documents one by one where it's clear what was ordered by this task force. They said we should informally see what we can do. They waited nearly 2 months to come here without any discussion previous to this. That's usurping your time and the people from the community that I brought out.
So, Ms. Patterson, the December, what letter was yours?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, December 12th. I think
Was sent to whom?
was sent to all of you.
And Mr. Williams.
I have to look at my email, but I sent it in response for the purpose of this hearing.
But did you send it to Mr. Williams also?
I have to look at my email to double check.
I thought you said you could show us on your email.
I can go in my email and show you. I may have just sent it to Victor to include in the packet. That's very possible.
We're not even.
But it was addressed to the Sunshine Task Force. It's addressed to Mr. Young.
Maybe Mr. Young can pull it up on his.
I should be allowed to respond to the accusations. I hope you give me time to do so.
Give us a second. We're going to
Thank
check
you.
on this December 12th.
Do you have that email, Victor, the December 12th?
The date of the letter is December 12th.
And when was it sent? Like shortly after?
I'll have to look at my email.
Okay. Because we're missing a step here. If that had been
Usually I
done.
would include everything I received. There's always a possibility
Right.
that I misdirected it. If you like, I will go and make copies and give the task
Because
force time
honestly,
to
at this
do it.
point, I'm leaning towards continuing this and letting them hash out if indeed an email was sent.
I mean, I don't.
Because I don't want to reinvent the wheel, and I don't want to reinvent the wheel at the full task force. And I don't know if we need to reinvent the wheel, because I think there might be a clearer path to this. But anyway, can we at least see if you have that email?
Member Moss, you were.
I mean, that's fine. I don't know that we need to table it quite yet, or we need to, we don't need
Not
to
yet.
continue it. We don't need to continue it yet. I think we've got 20 odd items to go through, and we can go through more of these without coming back to it.
But if
maybe we're not going to get to the point where we move this onto the
Right.
committee at the end.
No, I think we should do the bulk of the work here. That's what I'm saying. Sort out the apples and the oranges. But what I'm saying is, if Ms. Patterson has indeed done the work as she claims she has, and a lot of this answers Mr. Williams' needs, let's at least look at that and start at that point. That's all I'm trying to say. So just give us a second here and see if either Ms. Patterson or Victor can
So
find
it's not in our package,
No,
correct?
it's not in our package.
I'm trying to find
And that's what I'm saying. We can't really consider it if it's not in our package, right? So-
But that's for official hearing. This is
So
sort
maybe
of
we can't.
a
So-
compliant, this is a,
Right. So let's
This
try and
is not
find
even-
this.
yeah, this
Let's
is
try
not
and
e-
find this email for a start. Maybe it's something that you can find and put up on the screen, and we can go through it.
My suggestion, I can just go and you can start discussion. I will go make copies and bring it back, so you can each
Yeah.
have
See, I
that would
have a
help.
copy.
folder.
Yeah.
And may I suggest that we acknowledge the complainant's accusation and just move on to the documents and
Yeah.
just see where we can go from there.
I don't, this subcommittee here is not here to
I
determine
have a folder where I see
if Mr. Duquesne acted improperly or not. We're here hopefully to get you your information. I mean, that, right? But if the information is spread across multiple
here it is.
departments, you may have to do some digging with those departments. But let's get this email.
Right.
I would like to have a moment to respond so that it's equally, I feel
To
like I have an
respond to
equal
what?
voice.
I'm
To
just-
respond to some of the accusations that Mr. Williams has put forward, some of which I've addressed in this letter. But thank you, Mr. Hyland. Your observation's absolutely correct. The Bayview Opera House is a grantee of the Arts Commission, and they are not necessarily required to follow the Sunshine Ordinance in the same way that the Arts Commission does. So the Director of Cultural Affairs directing us to get to figure out what we did have to disclose was because he had a question about what we were responsible for. It was not a directive to withhold information. And the reason why we're doing this here is because I don't know how else to say it, but I have provided Mr. Williams with every single document that the Arts Commission has.
Hold
It
on
may
one
not
second.
satisfy.
Page 165, gents, is what she's referring to. That's the email from Tom.
You found it?
Tom Duquesne, yeah, to
From the Duquesne email.
the original saying, how do we package and handle this? Do we need to invoke an extension? That's the original.
Just a
one.
question.
Yeah, and I believe Mr. Williams, you're the one that provided
Right,
this, and so that's how I read it. I'd like the other commissioners to take a
I
look at
provided that to Mr. Williams. I did consult with the city attorney, and in the interest of being transparent, I didn't have to disclose my correspondence with the city attorney, but I did because I didn't feel like we had anything to hide. And it was a legitimate question, and I think it's been mischaracterized. And again, what's the issue here is that there are records that we simply don't have, that I can't make up for Mr. Williams, that I can't get for him. I've passed him every single thing that I have in response to this request, and he's still unsatisfied. So I don't know how else to communicate it. So
Honestly,
I'm happy to go
right.
through line by line.
The clearest thing would be, if we do send this up to the full task force, is for you to address it line by line and say.
That's what we're doing here, I hope. Yeah.
Well, hopefully you've already done that in that December 12th email. If you haven't,
No, I've just addressed the remaining issues because I've addressed all of his items in my initial letter.
Okay. I guess what I'm trying to say is, just to save time,
Sure.
when this does come before the full task force, if it does, is to have that in one document. All his questions, his rebuttals, your answers, sections 21C, where to find those answers, and then you're clear. That's what we need from you.
Okay. I feel like I've already done that.
You may have, but you need
Yeah.
to put it together for us. And that probably was what Chair Wolf directed back in October, to get something, maybe not in so many words, but that would really fully...
I guess the issue is that my answers haven't changed from letter 1
That's fine.
to letter 2.
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay.
Take letter 1, take letter 2, put them in the appropriate spots after his rebuttals, and we're probably good, I'm guessing.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's see what you sent on December 12th.
Sure.
That's probably a step towards that. But I'm guessing we're probably going to still ask, we still need to get this package correctly to get to the full task force, because we're not going to have the full task force go through this.
Sure.
So
that's fine.
you keep mentioning September 12th. I see on our page 182 a letter, an email from you, Ms. Patterson, to Mr. Williams, and it's dated September 28th. And it starts, I'm writing with responsive records to your August 16th request.
Right.
And you mentioned 14, 14A, 14B, and 14D.
Right. So
That's the first
after the first meeting, I felt really bad that Mr. Williams felt that we were withholding records. So I went back to my colleagues and I said, you double check, you go through every single request and make sure that we responded. And the section 14, I was dismayed to learn that we did in fact have records responsive to that request, which we'd not included in the first letter. So I immediately turned those over.
Okay. I'm
That's
still
that.
looking for your first letter then in our packet.
That was August, was my first letter. I have a whole baby. Oh, there it is. There we go. Mr. Williams, do you mind? I can get into my email.
August 21st?
Thank you so much. I'm sorry?
August 21st?
Well, my letter is dated August 30th to Mr. Williams. This was my response. So, but I'm going to go into my email on the computer.
Mr. Williams, based on what I was saying before about packaging all those answers and answering it, would that satisfy your...
I think that would be an excellent idea.
Okay. And many of their answers might be, don't have it, go here. Don't have it, go here. You're okay with that?
I'm okay with that.
I mean, obviously they have to answer accurately, but maybe we'll unearth a couple more 14A and Bs that didn't come up last time around, and I'll be happy if that happens. But they seem to think now, after 5 months, that they've pretty much answered everything. But I want to see it line by line. I want to see it in one document, and then I'll be happy. That's kind of where I'm going.
I understand, and let me underscore the impact of the task force. The day
That's a copy for you, for Mr. Williams.
Thank you.
As well. All right.
The day after the last October 19th task force hearing here,
Which I was not at.
which you were not at, I raised with, and Mr. Kanata, you would recall this, I raised the issue about minutes, and I had an exchange with Member Wolf about minutes. I had not received these minutes in all of 2 months at that time, almost 3. And he said, well, you don't know that they have minutes. They may not meet that many times through the year, over the year. A day after, I got the minutes from 2013 to 17. And it was because of this task force. Somewhere, somehow, they listened at what they said they could not produce, as Ms. Patterson is saying now, somehow after that meeting, and then she sent me an email confirming, Mr. Williams, did you receive it? Now, that was cooperation, and that is what Chairman Wolf ordered. We wouldn't be spending this time if we had talked to one another, not waited 2 more months after the fact. We could have gone through these over the telephone or over some other method of having this prepared for the task force. That is precisely, Mr. Halen, what we were attempting to do, because I believe that had been reasonable. That is the reason. Something missing here and something missing there has taken 5 months.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. So, Ms. Patterson, can you explain what we're looking at here a little bit? We have that email.
don't need to look it up on my...
No, we've got it in our hand. We've got a copy. And do you have a copy?
Oh, I don't. Excuse me. Oh, I have a copy of the letter that I included in that email.
Oh, there's an attachment.
There should be an attachment. Or is this, or do you have this, the letter?
We just have the actual letter. I
Okay,
think.
so this was sent, and I was just finding proof that I had sent it, but I did send this. And so basically, this is in response to...
Mr. Williams, you haven't seen this letter, have you?
No.
Okay.
Okay, well, I don't know what to say about
So,
that.
so you probably just sent it to Victor to include in the packet, but not to Ms. Williams. Okay. All right.
Well, yeah, because it was it was in response to, the
Mr. Young.
the summons. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So basically, it was an explanation to you. So this basically talks about, clarifies, I think it's a very important point, that the Bayview Opera House is an independent 501c3 and a grantee of the Arts Commission. The agency also owns the Opera House building. As such, the Bayview Opera House is subject to the city's admin code, section 12L, and it's sort of in section 12L, it talks about what the responsibilities are in terms of records. So if you look at B, this chapter is intended to be cost neutral in its effect upon nonprofit organizations, and the requirements imposed by this chapter shall be subject to that intent. The chapter is not intended to impose obligations equal to those of governmental agencies upon nonprofit organizations doing business with the city.
Right. We're familiar with 12C. So
Okay,
this is all-
so some of the things he asked for, I included this, like
Okay,
things
so you need to invoke 12L exemptions in line item by line item when you feel that's the case.
Okay, that's fine. I can do that.
And also, though, where that is the case, remark that he can actually go to the Opera House to request that information.
I would like to state that 12L is very limited in that they are required to produce financial information, but they are not required to produce any other type of information. It's voluntary.
Right,
Yes.
they're not required,
But
correct,
they did,
but they can.
And they did. And they did. And they did give him information. So I put that in. So
Hold on.
that's also in this letter where
You don't have to worry about that. That's not under your purview. You just need to say
Okay.
on those points
Sure.
that we don't have anything responsible. We provide everything. We think this is a 12L issue. Please go to this.
Okay,
And
I
if you have a
understand.
contact person
Yep.
at that place, that's even better.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm-
So
I'm-
this is not the 26 point. This is just the 14A through D piece.
Well, that's sort of a recapitulation of what you just
Okay,
read
so
in
there's
that
still-
email that I sent.
There's still some work to be done here
Well, okay.
to be assembled.
Okay, to combine all things, I see. But
Yeah.
I stand by that the bulk of our responses
And
came in our
I'm
initial
sure that'll
letter.
make it much easier for you.
I agree with Member Highland that in order to move this forward, Ms. Patterson, the Arts Commission has to address each point, state what was given, again, do this, and for the items not given, state where they can be found if you know that.
Through the chair, let me just ask Mr. Williams something. This is probably going to take some more time. Are you okay with waiting, and we'll come up with a time frame, a week or 2 weeks, or maybe longer, to wait for that item by item, one document? That's what we're going to request of them. Are you on board with this so far?
I'm on board with your. I don't have the mic on. I'm on board with assembling the documents so that the full task force won't have to go through this, regardless of what their responses are. I don't care. I can respond to that, what my objections would be before the full task force, because they could see everything. Because after all, the full task force needs to be clear on the work of the committee.
We're going to have a timeline. We're going to have that all assembled. But what I'm asking you is, I don't know if she can answer anything through 1 through 26 now and give you more information standing here at the dais. I don't think she can. I think what she can do is go back and assemble everything she's researched. If anything else comes up, include all of that, and then we'll probably ask that document to come to you and to us.
Yep.
And if we feel it's complete enough, hopefully we can just at that point get it on the docket for the full task force. Not have to have you guys come back in here again and look at all 126 and see, okay, now it's ready, and then we waste another month. So that's kind of where I'm going with this. I don't know if the other members agree.
Feelings on that?
I mean, I like that proposal. The difficulty here is that this is going to take a lot of time unless we can really clarify that every time we ask a question or we need to discuss it, that we're not getting into they should have these records but they don't, or they're withholding them and they don't. Like we can't get to the bottom of this because we don't have subpoena power. And I'm not, without challenging I don't want to challenge anybody's I guess I don't know how to say it, but I mean, I want to be able to get through and say, do these records exist? Do they not exist? And rather than should they exist or should they have been somewhere, or theoretically is someone withholding them, or we just can't get to the bottom of that.
And we'll package this for you, Ms. Patterson. But try and think of when you answer number 13, whatever it is, we provide everything responsive. We think this agency and this person has that, and we're invoking this exception under this. You can do a bullet point. You don't have to provide reams and reams of backing material. We're familiar with the code, but that at least kind of exactly put your position on all those things. And I think that's a working document that we can take up. And if we need to go through it line by line, it might be that of those things, Mr. Williams looks at it and says he only has problems with 5 of them. And we can get to the heart of what's left of the matter. Does that sound like a...
Yeah. I'd like to ask, so Mr. Williams, so you didn't want to file the other public records requests, but, if there is a violation or if somebody is withholding stuff, that is where you might find your evidence. If what we often see before this committee is where you're accusing somebody of withholding a record, and then you go to a different department and then you find that email that had... it's CC'd on somebody else. That's kind of where you find it.
I would file those concurrently with all this going on if I were you. Get that going too, so you might get your answers before we meet in 2 months at the full task force.
Well, I would also suggest, and I have stated reasons for being somewhat skeptical.
We can't get into that.
No. I just like to finish my point.
Okay.
And that is, regardless, I agree with what the members are saying completely. What I disagree with is why it has taken staff this so long. It's been 5 months. This should have been resolved. They have my telephone number. They have my email address. And it could have been resolved. I'm still willing, as this process goes that you've recommended, that I'm a reasonable person, that we should talk, discuss it over the telephone or via email, and work collectively and collaboratively to get it. That's what Chairman Wolf said.
Right.
I'm willing to do that.
That's good. The sense I'm getting is that they feel like they may have already answered it in different bits and places and parts, so that's why we want to get this all together. They've been responsive, you're happy, and we move forward.
And I'm going to paraphrase here. What we're requesting is that the Arts Commission go through these 26 items. That I would start with the list where they have the item and the rebuttal, actually.
That document.
Right, to see what's missing and come up with, in one place, this is what the Arts Commission has provided. This is what we can't provide because we don't have it, whatever. And this is whom Mr. Williams may go to get this. And then once that's done, send it to Victor and to Mr. Williams, and Mr. Williams can go through it, and you guys can, and then send it to us. Victor will send it on to us, and if we feel that it's enough information to go up to the full task force, we'll get it up there as soon as we can.
And just for the record, that document starts in our package on
169?
169, where you start by your itemized and then your rebuttals. So that's a document we'd like you to work off. I don't know if I'm sure you've sent that to them.
Yes, I did.
Feel free to send it again so they have it in front of them.
I have no problems with sending emails.
Copy us on anything you send.
Yes, I will certainly do that, as well as if they want to discuss anything over the telephone meeting. They call it in court, meet and confer. I have no problems with meeting and conferring over these documents. And as it were, as you go through the process, you may discover that there's something available that you didn't think was. And I think the added benefit, the response will help me tailor and refine any response to after they respond.
Well, let's one step at a time. So we're going to have Ms. Patterson respond to that. Apologies, cut and paste exercise coming up, Ms. Patterson. But at least we have a clear path here. And then the following instructions the chair has already given to both parties and the clerk. So,
Yeah.
so do we need to make a motion on that, or
It'd be to continue it
continue
to
with,
our next meeting.
with those instructions? Okay.
So before we do them,
Can we add a timeline to that?
yeah, but even before we do that, continue it, but can the continuance be to either here or to the full task force? Because if all this information is provided and everybody, and it comes out to, this is great or this is not optimal, should it go up to the task force as long as there's enough information?
Through the chairman, let me ask Mr. Williams a question. I'm getting the sense that you want to get this right. You want to get the information. This is of personal interest to you. There isn't yes, it's taken 5 months, but there isn't impending court date coming up or a construction deadline or something that makes this time sensitive in that sense. So are you willing to wait the extra month for us to...
No, it's
okay. So
one of the things that I'd like to.
That's all right. That's
okay.
That's all I need.
Okay,
that's fine. Okay.
The exigent circumstances of the community. There's a great deal of anger.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. So I think that's cause enough. So we're going to try and package this such that. What if we give Ms. Patterson 2 weeks? Is that reasonable to package this?
Sure. I do have one question.
Excuse me. Sorry.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
Now go.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so 2 weeks?
I'm happy to do it in 2 weeks. That's totally reasonable. I do want to just be very clear, though, that the records that I forwarded to Mr. Williams from the Department of Public Works, I do not want to be responsible for describing them, those are not our records. I can't be responsible.
So why don't you just put in item 3, forwarded Public Works documents?
Sure, I will. But I do think that the onus should be on Mr. Williams to pursue records with those departments.
I think he's going to do
clarification.
that concurrently. Yeah.
Well, that's not how it's been presented. So I just want you guys to just make it clear that we're responsible for the Arts Commission records.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah. So and under 21C, you want to make sure that you've already advised them to go there, or you did forward documents that you went out of your way to get from them. But have a sort of cut and paste in there. That's fine.
I've already put that in writing numerous times, but I will do that again.
Thank you. Okay, so 2 weeks seems reasonable.
Yeah, but I don't. I mean, I'm concerned about the process for us sending this to the task force because we can't make a decision amongst us three outside of open session.
Also true. That's the problem. So we might need to look at this again before we give it our blessing to kick it upstairs.
And there was my question. Does that have to be looked again at a meeting, or if we get emails?
Perhaps Victor can help us.
We can't do
it between us.
Right.
I mean,
you can authorize the chair to make that determination on behalf of the committee.
I'm fine with that.
I'm fine. I mean, are you fine with that, Chair?
I think
maybe we can. The chair and I can assign it to you, and then you can do it.
I think the chair needs to make that call.
And then we need to be aware that the board or the full task force agendas are not at our discretion. That is at the discretion of Chair Wolf.
Yeah, we can't say when it's going to hit the full task force. It might be 2, 3, 4 months, and especially with the fact that a lot of people's terms are ending in April. It'd be nice to get it in by, let's say, March, but it may not happen. Maybe April, and there's a lot of other things that are backing up. I speak for myself here.
June, not April.
Well,
I
April.
think it's May, June. I think it's May, June for a lot of us.
Yeah, it is. Well, April, I think, is the last one because May is when they have the new elections, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I believe April 27th are when terms expire.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
Coming up.
I didn't know that.
That's, yeah. So,
but there's usually quite a delay after that point.
Yeah, because we were sworn in June.
There wasn't last time.
Because there was a delay in appointments.
Carried on, yeah.
All right.
So we were saying, 2 weeks, and then to the call of the chair as to whether it gets forwarded to the full task force or whether it comes back here because
That's
it's
fine.
for incomplete.
The motion would be to continue the matter and defer to the chair as to whether or not to reschedule it before compliance amendments or to forward it to the full task force.
Perfect.
Correct.
And the tentative meeting for the full task force, is that everything goes well, would be March 7th. And I will work with the chair to try to get that on the agenda, as we would like to get this before any
Resolved
member
and-
changes as.
Right.
Okay.
May I add one other aspect?
Oh, sure, Mr. Williams, go ahead.
That the comments that Chair Wolf mentioned about us working collectively and collaboratively beyond the realm of our individual spaces also be something to implement so that we can work in cooperation with one another. That was still, although it wasn't a formal directive, it was nonetheless something that came from the task force that I think in good faith we should be working together so as not to take up so much time of the members.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping this thing leads to.
Yes.
Okay.
Any last words for the defendant?
No.
For the Ms. Patterson?
Oh, no, this,
Anything else? Good.
Any questions or final comments regarding the instructions of the committee?
Thank you for coming.
Thanks.
And not saying anything. I mean,
And we have a-
I didn't mean it that way, but thank you for being here.
we have a
Anyway,
motion, correct?
And thank you, members.
Thank you.
We have a motion?
The motion is to continue the matter and to defer to the chair of the committee to determine whether or not to refer this matter to the next committee hearing or to the full task force based upon the
Instructions.
compliance with the instructions provided.
Correct. Any public comment on the motion?
My name is Francisco de Costa.
Sorry, I wasn't sure which mic was on.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Please.
Okay, my name is Francisco da Costa. And an element that's missing here is that this issue is very, very time sensitive. In the 60s, there was a riot that took place right in front of the Bayview Opera House. Now, when we have a director from the Bayview Opera House who makes statements that she's not going to rent the Bayview Opera House, which is a community space, and calls blacks goons and animals, and any committee and the task force doesn't take it seriously, then we are in deep trouble. And last time, some of the main elements were missing when, in spite of Mr. Williams sending y'all some documents, they were not forwarded to the whole task force, which led to a situation where y'all were in a bind and did not want to come to a conclusion, which led to this meeting. And what's happening here is that every time you hear the Art Commission, they go on a defensive. Oh, you know, we did our best. We have everything here. We send it. Don't go on a defensive. If you work for the city, then you need to represent and you need to bring about solutions. And right now, there are no solutions in the community. This matter is time sensitive. And I'm refraining from writing about it because I have a very powerful blog, because I don't want to create riots. So, I would advise all of y'all who are involved to learn about the history of the Bayview Opera House and to learn more about the Arts Commission, a very nefarious agency. That's all I'll say. Thank you very much.
Any other public comment? Seeing none, let's vote.
On that motion, Member Highland.
Aye.
Highland, aye. Member Moss.
Aye.
Moss, aye. Chair Kanata.
Aye.
Kanata, aye. The motion passes. Just to clarify, I did not catch who was the mover and seconder.
I believe Member Highland was the mover and I was the seconder.
Thank you.
Okay, next item.
Next on the agenda, announcements, comments, questions, and future agenda items.
Anybody have anything?
When's our next CAC meeting?
That would be in 2 months on March the 20th, I believe.
Third Tuesday. So, speaking of that, 4:30 is better or 4 for you?
I mean, 4:30 would be better, I think, for me.
Okay.
I
Okay.
mean, if it has to be 4, it can be 4, but 4:30 would
No,
be better.
4:30
It's
is
open.
fine. 4:30 is fine. Victor, for you too?
Yes.
Does that matter? All right.
30 it is.
If there's no additional business, would you like to adjourn the meeting at this time?
We need a motion.
Rising vote. By a texting vote.
Sorry, I think we're all putting it in our calendar at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is legitimate CAC business.
Let's not make that a thing. All right.
So I've got to get my.
We have a meeting adjourned.
We need a second.
Second.
Second. All right. There we go.
Okay, by acclamation.